What's up, guys? If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Also, please smash that like button on the video and enjoy the show.
I always, bring up like the fact of him wanting to create a master race of blonde-haired, blue-eyed people,
Yes.
right? Mm-hmm. But where did he really get that fascination from? And it's interesting because, of course, you could take all this with a grain of salt, but there's been supposed races that have been seen. They called the Nordics, that are blonde-haired and blue-eyed. So could that have played a part?
I'm a Nordic.
Yeah. Half Nordic.
Nah, I'm too stubby.
You're a ginger, bro.
It's a fair.
I got a half a soul.
Some of this is like lore, but other is based in some purported historical reporting of how Hitler thought about this.
Yeah, if you talk to Rick Doty, he'll just start.
That name's familiar.
Rick Doty is the guy behind. Have you ever heard of like Mirage Men, the documentary about Paul Bennewitz getting like psyoped by a Office of Special Intelligence?
I'm thinking of Rick Dalton. I'm sorry.
No, it's all you.
Rick Dalton.
Rick has been around since the 80s, and he worked for the Air Force OSI.
Okay.
Air Force Office of Special Investigations. He's basically a man in black.
He looks like it. Looks like a porkier Tommy Lee.
He looks harmless, dude.
He's got some crazy stories.
And when you hear him talk, he is a gentle figure. He's like a good dude. He doesn't seem to have like nefarious motives, or he doesn't want to like control the UFO subject like some people that are on the screen there. But he's said that like we have knowledge, the military, the government knows about all of these different alien races that are out there interacting with us. But you have to kind of take it with a grain of salt because Rick Doty has a background. Like if you're going to talk about maybe Lou Elizondo being counterintelligence.
Yes.
This guy 100% held that position in the 1980s, and he tricked this guy, Paul Bennewitz, into believing that there was a alien base at Dulce, New Mexico, and he also convinced Paul that the government had an active communication back and forth with these aliens, and that he was receiving alien communications on his like radio. Paul Bennewitz was a successful commercial airport owner and operator, had millions of dollars in the bank. His family was happy. Then this strange radio communication that he tapped into, which possibly was coming from Kirkland Air Force Base, convinced him that he had intercepted some kind of non-human intelligence radio signals. And next thing you know, he's calling up the Air Force Base and he's saying, hey, I think I've tapped into something that's anomalous here and I'm seeing UFOs. He was also concurrently seeing UFOs flying around the Kirkland area, supposedly. And who did they send? They sent Air Force Office of Special Investigations agent Rick Doty to his house. And Rick said, tell me what you've experienced. Tell me what you've seen. He got the debrief from Paul Bennewitz, and then their relationship started there. Then all of a sudden, Paul Bennewitz was being called into the Air Force Base, sitting across from a metal table or something like you would expect in some kind of like interrogation room setting. And Rick Doty is handing him a document that outlines the true history of mankind. We are like biologically created by aliens and all of this like crazy mind exploding ideas. And Paul Bennewitz reads through the file and goes, wow, why are you telling me this? And he's like, because you've already experienced the phenomenon and we want to work with you and blah, blah, blah. Paul Bennewitz lost his mind after he went through, like, let's say the most severe ontological shock one could go through. His business shut down. It wasn't functioning anymore. He was barely functioning. He was having, I guess, a psychotic break. He went to a mental institution and he passed away. He wasn't doing well. So that is kind of a sad story. And people go, oh, well, Rick Doty, you know, he pushed him over the edge and stuff like that. And Rick will say, if you talk to him now, like, I didn't push him over the edge. And you can talk to his family. They even say themselves, you were not responsible for that. Paul, you know, I guess is responsible for that. You know, it's on him or whatever. But then people argue, like, if this agent didn't go out to him and feed him information and make him kind of go further into this rabbit hole, he wouldn't have, you know, had that like that demise, right?
Right.
So I don't know how we start. Yeah, well, basically we're talking about alien races. This guy talks about Rick Doty. If you just go listen to, like, jump in a Twitter space that he's in. He's in them
He's going on
all the
spaces
time.
all the time.
All the time. And he's like, the Nordics, the Greys. There's 4 types of Greys.
No, what is it? The mantids.
The mantids.
The mantids.
You know, like everything. And he said it to me in person when I interviewed him for a previous documentary. And I'm just like, man, poor Paul Bennewitz.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's where things can go so far. And you say, like, oh, the guy literally was like counterintelligence or something like that. And people are like, what the fuck are we doing here?
He was he was a asset for the Air Force to, I think, obscure and confuse the issue and to tell people it was aliens when quite possibly it was our own craft.
Right.
That they were doing tests with.
And when he tells them at the end, he goes, look in the lap, please.
Yeah, exactly.
I always wonder if that's true. Because you talked about it with the James Cameron movie in 2005. What was it called again? About the USOs? Or about
The Abyss? Or what?
the James Cameron one.
Aliens of the Deep.
Oh,
Aliens of the Deep.
Right.
Yeah.
And you were mentioning... Oh, no, I got to turn off my look into the light here.
You're going to kill it.
You were mentioning how it's like art imitating life, or does he have information there? And people have talked about this all the time with Spielberg. You know, you look at Spielberg's work before E.T. Why am I blanking on Close Encounters of the Third Kind before that, right? And he was the one who created this being idea, and it's like, well, what was he read in on? What did he know?
Well, that's not the only one. I'm sure you guys remember Flight of the Navigator. That actually had quite a few interesting scenes
Flight
in the
of
movie.
the Navigator?
Yeah,
I don't know if I saw
it was from Disney.
Okay.
Yeah, if you watch that movie,
Sarah Jessica Parker.
there's a lot of interesting things that now when you look at it, you're like, all right, where did this guy get this information?
Right. Sarah's an alien?
No, she works as a nurse. She works as a nurse at a military base, and this kid is an experiencer that gets abducted by a ship that is intelligent. Essentially, like, the ship itself, the craft, is like an alien, and it takes him to a different time in history, and the military captures the craft with the kid inside of the craft, and she's working at the military hospital, observing him and getting to know him, and she eventually breaks him out, helps him escape, and
Whoa.
It's a great movie.
No, it's a real good movie. You should watch it. Even now, it's an awesome movie.
I definitely have not seen that.
But it's a decade later than Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And I've actually said this before. I don't know if you know this. This is written about in... there's a guy named Robbie Graham who's no longer with us. Really nice guy. He wrote a book called Silver Screen Saucers, or Silver Screen Saucers, I think it's called. And he investigated the fascination of UFOs in Hollywood and kind of reverse engineered whether this idea of UFOs is born in Hollywood or if it's coming from something else, from an observable phenomenon that's been happening, right? And he went and spoke to people that worked on Close Encounters of the Third Kind on set and people who worked directly with Spielberg. And he found that Steven Spielberg, when he was making that film, you know, this was supposed to be his big masterpiece at the time. He had done Jaws. That was a big commercial success. And he was interested in UFOs and the idea that we're not alone. So he invested all this money and time into building his big budget epic on UFOs. And he reached out, as some films do, to see if he could get assistance from the military to fund or to lend equipment in the shooting of it, right? Because there was a lot of military involvement in that film and the story.
That's interesting.
The military, this is in the book, Silver Screen Saucers, they replied back to him. And they said to him, we're not going to give you funding. We're not going to support this film. We've already concluded our theories on UFOs and their existence during Project Blue Book. That is our final answer on whether this is a real phenomenon. You shouldn't make this film.
Thank you for watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.